International Association for Near-Death Studies presents NDE Radio, a weekly exploration of near-death experiences and similar encounters with the other side. Now, here's your host, Lee Witting.
Welcome to NDE Radio, brought to you on behalf of IANDS, the International Association for Near-Death Studies. I'm your host, Lee Witting. Our guest today, Rodney Rieder, was an AB merchant mariner longshoreman working on tugboats. On July 19th, 2017, while waiting for another hitch, Rod was put on shore duty, loading a large barge with 50-ton steel pilings. As he started to load the first piling, he got called up to the top of the stack to help lower it down, so he climbed the ladder up to the top to help lower the piling down. In his account, Rod writes, "I proceeded then to go to the edge of the stack to climb back down the ladder. I looked at my watch just before, and it said 1 p.m. I got both legs up on the upper rungs of the ladder, and then I and the ladder felt a jolt, and we both separated from the stack. I presume either another barge or tug had bumped the barge at that moment." Yikes. Rod, welcome to NDE Radio.
Thank you very much, Lee.
So there you were, you and the ladder are airborne. So tell us what happened next.
Yes, again, if anyone who's been on a table before and all of a sudden had a family member bump the end of the table, you feel that push out. And yes, me and that steel ladder swung out, held vertical for a moment, and then everything proceeded to slow down. I was, as you can imagine, trying to reach onto a very smooth surface, trying to reach onto a piling to grab hold. And as, again, everything just slowed down. You could feel like every moment.
Wow. Just
happening. And then you were there for a moment there, and then all of a sudden it's like I turned and faced the ladder, facing down, looking towards that steel floor of the barge as I was continuing downward.
How far a drop was it?
I believe my face, when I removed from the stack, was up around 25 feet.
Wow. And you landed on your face too, didn't you?
From what was told to me is, yes, my full body, including my face, struck the steel ladder as it struck the steel barge.
Wow.
So that ladder has been impressioned into my body.
And as soon as you hit, I guess you went into darkness, huh?
Actually, about the 45-degree angle, looking down as I was coming down, is when I felt the pop and went into the void.
And was that pop, you think, out of your body?
Yes.
Yeah. What happened next?
So I went into, again, the blackness. And again, total darkness all around. Conscious, yet not worried, not, am I dead or, emotion. It was just a calm feeling. Again, I always describe it like someone giving you a warm blanket, wrapping yourself around. And you were just there in the moment. No time, just there. And then, again, no period of time, but all of a sudden, a split in the darkness. It looked like it was just like a lightning bolt coming down and then opened. And then I just felt myself working towards and going through.
Were you going into that lightning bolt, or was it, what did it appear that you were?
The initial tear looked like a lightning bolt, like it was open, and then it just slowly widened open and to like a portal, you could say, or open circle of light, and then come through. And then as I came through, I found myself out onto a gravel path in a tree grove.
Wow. Was it like a forest?
Yeah, very much like a forest. Tight weaving, sort of smaller trees, like small maples or whatever. That was very tight. Almost felt like bamboo in a way too, how tight the grove can be around. But and it just led out onto a mountain ledge.
Wow. And what did you see from there?
From the mountain ledge, I looked down and I was looking upon a 3-tiered mountain meadow. It was Earth-like, but it wasn't Earth.
And I think you said that it was you didn't have a sense of your body, that you were more like an orb or
right. Like when you're generally walking around, you suddenly see part of your nose, and everything else around you. And unfortunately, here it's just more of, again, a consciousness. If you can say, imagine maybe it was an orb, or like I was an orb, or whatever, just going out, I wouldn't see any reference to the body.
So did you feel like you were walking along the path, or were you floating?
I felt more like a gliding effect.
Interesting. Wow. And you say it was Earth but not Earth, or like Earth but not Earth?
Yeah, it was Earth-like but not Earth. The feeling, this is not where I came from.
How did it feel different?
I'm in a new place. Yep.
How did it feel different, though? I mean, was it did you feel like you were on another planet or in something else?
The colors, the absolute vivid description, everything was 10 to 20 times plus in depth of color, of clarity. The sky, a little bit, again, I would say different. It was, again, I saw mountain ranges around, again, but it was not Earth, is how I felt.
And then the tiers, were you at the highest tier looking down through meadows?
Again, I was actually looking at the 3 tiers from the ledge. So the lower section of this mountain meadow, I saw others, is how I describe it. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. And they were just moving around. And then I proceeded to look towards, again, the upslope, the second level of the meadow, and thereupon the second tier was the most spectacular rectangle golden portal. And everyone keeps talking a portal. I'm like, yes, like you see on Stargate or whatever else, there was a rectangle portal.
Wow. And it was golden. Was it radiant? Did it glow?
It was glowing where, yes, there was, it was the sheer shine of it coming off. It was just, I'm trying to find the words. Just, again, a shining light, just a golden light, just all around it. And then
now the hundreds of beings that you saw beneath this golden portal, were they also orbs, or did they have bodies that you could?
Saw what I could see as bodies.
Bodies.
Forms. That's why I describe as others. There was different forms.
Did you get the feeling that they were waiting to go through the portal, or were they just outside of it?
I believe they were just outside. Like this was a place of holding or rest or whatever. It was just where they were there, but they were interacting with each other. Several of them were.
Wow. But not with you.
Not with me. I was like an observer.
Okay. And what else did you see from there? From
there, on the third tier, what I would describe as a jeweled marbled halls. Just spectacular streams of gold and silver sparkling, jewels, gems. And I've referenced through this. Some people call it the Library of Heaven. Some people call it by other names. I've seen this before, but it was just a spectacular. It looked like the Pantheon is the best way to describe it.
Oh, the Parthenon? The Parthenon, in Athens?
Yes. Yeah. Yep, like a form like that. And then you add all that gold and silver light and all the different colored gems shining like in the light. It had its own glow around it.
And I think you said there was also like a lush green grass field.
Yep, and that was for the next part, where upon looking at that part, then my fixation was on this most beautiful green lush grass field that was going amongst these other tiers. And then I found myself gliding down amongst it.
And how did you feel? Were you happy? Did you feel loved?
There was a feeling of contentment and love that I cannot describe. Laying down amongst the grass, as I glided down in, I laid amongst it. And it was just a beautiful, the contentment, a peace, a recharging, the love, and everyone talks again. They describe about the light. Everything was the light. Everything that I saw, I felt was the light, but it encapsulated you like a liquid love, a love of a child times a million. I have 2 daughters, and I still cannot love them to compare to that same love that I felt. That sucked.
Yeah.
And it felt like I was a recharging battery. And
do you think you were recharging? No, this is kind of comparing it to someone else who once told me they had picked a flower out of a meadow like the one you're describing. Mm-hmm. And as they picked it, it was separated from the source and it began to wilt. But when they put it back down on the ground, it was revived and it took right off again. And there you're on the ground. Were you drawing that energy, do you think, from the field itself?
It might have been where where I became in contact with all this. As I was looking through the grass, I was looking through the grass stems at a microcellular level. I was watching cells move around with all the little liquid moving amongst the cells.
Wow.
It was just, you were all knowing. People talk about that all knowing, that all seeing part, and it's where you were all connected together. There was a piece of just serenity, but again, you felt like you were just being recharged for this event. And then it's just slowly, as again, there was no time, but as I was contemplating all this part came into me going, why am I here? I feel like I snuck in. And then through the grass, I watched this silver shining mist come through. And that's when they came forth. I had an experience where I had the most vibrant, beautiful, bluish, white, shining light forms, light beings, and they surrounded myself.
How many were there?
I can at least 5 to 7 of them that I can remember of that came around me. And they were human form, but they were more spindly. And it was just, you're just taking all, looking at them, as they came around you. It was, I've seen, many people have described or seen shows where all of a sudden you get that transition where you see a mist and all of a sudden you see a form come around you. Well, here they came.
Wow. And did they talk to you?
I believe they did. I don't have a recalling of what they said directly to me. It's more of what I've experienced after this event, of certain knowings that you almost get like flashbacks where you see their face or you see something they might have discussed with myself. And now it becomes almost like a pressure wave. Best way I can describe it is if you take 2 opposing magnets and you push them together, you get that compulsive pull to either to go forward or to, if something's right, you get that feeling.
So you felt like you were being propelled by them?
Yes. And again, I don't know how long I was with them, but all of a sudden I was like drawn up into a small little thing, and it was like loaded onto a slingshot and then aimed down a straw. And I was like, I'm going down this, best way I can describe is a rainbow vortex in a small straw. And fate first, how I would describe it, because I am looking back upon the tallest light being, and I am going, no, 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 please, no, I do not want to leave, no, and I'm still watching that. I'm going down. I am still watching this being, looking upon this being, and then as I'm going, I would describe halfway down. Again, no noticing, but all of a sudden, I watch as half my vision starts to go blurry, and then closes up on what I would describe as my right side. And I felt this tremendous pain start to enter as I'm still going down this vortex. Mm. Pain, agony. I mean, just rippling, crushing pain. And that's when I proceeded to fuse, not wake up, but fuse into my physical body on this side.
Mm. So that was almost a premonition of pain even before you got to the body.
Correct.
You could feel how badly you were hurt.
Exactly. And then when it was how I described the fusion, it's very disrupt. It wasn't comfortable. And again, it's not like waking up from a dream where you're just waking up and you go through it. All of a sudden, it's where it's like I'm visually looking at it, and it's just where the blurriness all of a sudden went to a clearing. And then everyone all my coworkers standing around me. I had been moved at the time. I didn't know about it. They had put my body onto a loader and had brought me over to the office, and they had laid me down on the floor. And I guess they didn't already know what to do with me.
Jeez, they shouldn't have moved you. They should have called an ambulance right then.
Yeah, unfortunately, that never happened. And so then, all of a sudden, I fused open. And they came awake, and they were going, "What? This can't be. This can't be." I remember them picking me up, dead weight. I had a terrible pain in my left shoulder as well, but screaming in pain. And then I was placed into a car and then drove to the hospital.
So apparently they thought you were dead at first, huh?
That's what everything is. Yes.
So, that's why they moved you, because they didn't worry about hurting you further.
About hurting me, I was dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And then when I happened, again, I'm being put into this vehicle, and again, I'm realizing at the point that I can't see anything right. I'm left eye dominant naturally. So this was a blessing in a way, because again, my left eye takes over, but I realized that I didn't have a right eye. I wasn't seeing anything through my right eye. And then feeling down, initially you feel the blood pouring from the eye, from the nose, from the ear. And when I was in the vehicle, as we were just trying to move off, I happened to look at my watch, and it was now 1:35.
Wow. So they took you to the hospital?
Right. No 911, no ambulance, and they took me there. I don't know, again, that I was dead, anything else they didn't call. It was just how it happened. Mm. And they brought me to the hospital, and they threw down the insurance card. I didn't even go into the emergency drop-off. We walked from the parking lot in.
You walked?
Yes, we walked.
Oh, my gosh.
And then I laid down. I remember the manager putting down the insurance card, and I sitting down in a seat, and then they abandoned me, and I was left there. No contact, emergency contact, or anything was contacted at all.
You'd been dead for half an hour, and they made you walk into the hospital.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And then they started picking me up, and of course I watched the doctors and nurses rush to me, and then after I was at this first hospital for a couple hours getting exams, and they felt I was beyond their abilities, and I was able to just quickly get a hold of the nurse to plead with her while I had my nose plugged with the thing, and to contact my fiance with my daughters. We're basically married. We've been together for 9 years. And so I was able to get a hold of her. She arrived at the hospital at the same moment that they're loading me up to take me to Harborview, which is the main hospital in Seattle, due to the amount of trauma that I received. And they were all focused on my face. They were not unaware that I would later find 6 months later that I had my left pectoral major, your pec, had been cut and separated from my shoulder, besides the facial face. And upon all these exams, 3/4 of my face was completely fractured, broken. My right orbit eye socket was completely just disintegrated. Brain bleed, and then, of course, probably some broken ribs and, other pains I could feel, just the strike of the ladder upon the body. And they, again, brought me over to Harborview. They had set me up with all, of course, the medication, pains, but the doctors were absolutely in amazement. I had doctors around me. They could not believe that I was taking such little pain meds for a person in my condition. There was a woman next to me who unfortunately had been battered by her husband with a baseball bat, and she was crying out, screaming. And I recall the doctor saying, there is a gentleman next to you that is 10, 20 times worse than you. And they kept coming over, monitoring, going, you're one tough son of a gun. I was not talking. I was not screaming out. I was silent. I was just, it was hard to describe to them that I still felt that connection to that deep love. And that love is what was sustaining me.
So that the pain was mitigated by the love that you were feeling still, right, from the other side.
Yep.
Nice. Did you tell your fiance about what you'd seen?
Not initially, no. It was always in my mind. It was just more of everything was, again, it's so hard when you come back into I describe it coming back into this meat suit, if you want to say, describe. Body is just, everything just slowed down, and it was just starting to slowly catch back up. So you were almost in the moment of everything, paying attention to all these little details, and it just started to unwind slowly, faster and faster, where things were just out. I was focusing on that love and what I'd felt, because that was my strength when I was being picked up by all these doctors and nurses and attendants, and because they were constantly bringing me through different machines and what they're doing to find out what's going on. And again, their focus was my face, and they had after a week after I left the hospital, I had my first facial surgery, and they put in 5 plates of titanium to hold my face together.
Wow. Well, you look completely normal from what I can see.
They went through I had one amazing plastic surgeon. They went through my eye and fun thing through my mouth. So how they put the plates in. So I had my mouth wired for 4 months. So amazingly, the doctors figured out how did I gain a little extra weight by drinking broth.
Well, this I take it this experience has had a profound impact on your life 3.5 years later.
Yes, it's I have experienced through the healing and recovery. I have met others who have come forward. Either I found through social media, or during shopping, I've met others that had the same experience or a similar experience. They describe the light beings. They describe this mountain meadow, or one example, one gentleman we talked with, he saw it from the air. He stayed up high above and looked down upon it. I've had people who have walked up to me and say, you're connected, out of the blue. Person I have no idea. And they walked up and said, and then the next question they ask is, when did you die?
Out of the blue, they'll ask you that? Yes.
Wow. I've had 2 times they do that. And I'm just going, wow. It it started developing, and I concentrated further on about this, and I started diving more and more into NDEs and the experiences that people had and what the after effects, and so many similarities came forth. I held around it for a long time, and I've been doing a lot of the quiet studies, the research, and sometimes I've let out to people and said, hey, yes, I did have an experience, but I had this compelling feeling, again, just recently, where I've had several direct signs, that pressure wave, and then I literally had a person I was talking with, and she almost screamed at me through a social media site, are you a YouTuber? Are you a YouTuber? And I'm going, no. But then I thought, I'm going, wait a second, this is like, and I felt that pressure. I'm like, okay, I guess I have to do a YouTube video regarding my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got the pressure. I haven't had operations of a computer or anything for the last 3.5 years. So I went and got a laptop. I already had a video recorder, so that worked out. And then I produced the video. I had to learn a little bit of editing for a moment, but it's like I had to do this.
Yes. People can hear howitzers going off in the background toward the end of that video.
Yes, I live near Joint Base Lewis McChord, so you'll hear some big booms every now and then they've been doing, and there's still a few popping off today, even as we're speaking here. Thank goodness they're not the big guns. But it's where it just felt like it flowed out. I had to let people know about this, and then God in action. People reached out to me already about the video, and then put myself again in contact with you.
Yes. And you're also extending an invitation to people who might be shy about talking about their own NDEs, that you're willing to read their stories on your channel if they'd like.
Yes.
Tell us a little about how you came up with that idea.
Again, it was just part of that visual of doing this video, and then there had to be a reason for it. And I was just where I know a lot of people, again, for a long time, again, I held out for 3 years really pushing out to the public that, hey, I had this experience. These things I felt are absolutely real. And then when you see other people, some people have talked about it a little bit, but they don't want to say, well, my family might make a comment or things. So I'm like, you know what? I've been through this much. I already basically died. I don't care anymore. I will be a voice to others who need a channel that they can get that off their chest, but in a way that they can come forth and be open and help others who may have had this experience or interested in the subject, want to see the similarities that other people are sharing, and again, just as a vehicle where they can feel I call the name of the channel NDESanctuary, so that gives it a description of a peaceful place where they can come forth and share.
It's a great idea. Rod, we are almost out of time for today, but tell the listeners how they can contact you about being on your YouTube channel.
Again, on YouTube channel, it's NDESanctuary. And if you want to look at my first video, you can find it at, the statement is, I died for a half hour. You can also email me at NDESanctuary@outlook.com. Your story if you're open to share.
That's wonderful. That's a great offer. I've certainly seen people who didn't want to come on our show, for instance, and speak for themselves. But if they go through you and they hear their story read aloud, I think it will provoke them to begin to share more and more openly.
Exactly.
Rodney Rieder, thank you so much for sharing the story of your NDE and how it's influenced the direction of your life. If listeners would like to hear this show again or any of our nearly 400 past shows, just go to NDE Radio and hit the Past Shows button. For more about IANDS, go to their website at IANDS.org. And listen again next Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern, for more NDE Radio. This is Lee Witting saying thanks for listening.